Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to 2 Minute Warning, the high-paced American football podcast in which the time is in short supply, but the opinions certainly are not. My name is Jez. Down below me is Matt, and we're here today to discuss Super Wildcard Weekend, which is the first of its kind. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm all right. Yeah, it's 4 p.m. here, isn't it? So late morning for our American fans, and sort of late afternoon, early evening here in the UK. But yeah, I'm all right. It's certainly different to be doing it on a Saturday, especially this time.
Yeah.
Previewing what's going to be a very new concept that the NFL have put out for this Super Wildcard Weekend. So it's going to be interesting. Lots of very nice matchups that we're going to be going through. How about yourself? How have you been?
Yeah, it's been a while since we did this. A couple of weeks off for Christmas, but I'm excited to get back to it. I'm excited to be doing this new kind of pre-game, like run-up format. Can hear Matt spotty. Okay, yeah, I thought that was the case. Yeah, don't know if you're a little bit far away from the mic, Matt, or whether it's.
Oh. Let's have a fiddle around with the setup that I've got in the new
in your new room.
In my new room.
Yeah, you just got a bit spotty for a moment, so I don't know what the.
Let's move this microphone a bit closer. How's that?
Sounds a lot better now. Yeah.
That's all right then.
Yeah.
I'll keep it on my knee. It's just not at the same level. It's fine. It's on my knee now. It's sitting on my lap.
That's what happens when you're in a pandemic and IKEA is shut and you can't get a desk, I guess.
Absolutely. We'll get there.
We'll get there. All a work in progress. But yeah, it's nice to be doing a pre-game show for the playoffs. Playoffs in which the team for whom I'm representing is in the playoffs and the team for whom you're representing is not.
It's been a very, very long time since we weren't in any type of playoff. That being the Patriots. It's been a while. It's
It hasn't happened for I can't remember any time, to be fair, when the Bears were in the playoffs and the Patriots weren't. That's completely new for me, and it's a great feeling. I very much like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at that stat later and let everybody know when was the last time your Bears were in and my Patriots weren't in. It's got to be like the
90s, probably.
90s, yeah, something like that, when the Patriots were awful.
Yeah, Novatata is trying to deflect. Obviously, a fellow Patriots fan. Was there a 2020 football season? I must have missed it. I don't think that the Patriots realised there was a 2020 football season. They certainly made no effort to play in that season, as was evidenced during their games. So, yeah. Speaking of terrible play, it's a nice segue into our first topic. Shall we get things started?
I think we should. So, first topic we're going to look at is week 17, so the week just gone of the season. And it ended in controversy as Washington locked up the final playoff spot by defeating Philadelphia Eagles. And that was a score of 20 points to 14. With the Eagles trailing Washington by just 3 points in the fourth quarter. Philadelphia's head coach Doug Peterson then went and benched the promising rookie QB Jalen Hurts and put in Nate Sudfeld. The New York Giants, I think he said Jets fans. Giants fans were absolutely pissed, and should they been pissed? Do they have the right to be upset? What do you think?
I'm glad that Duff's turned up for this, and he's immediately come in with Eagles suck balls. And my opinion, contrary to a lot of the opinion going around at the moment, is no, they've got absolutely no right to be pissed off about this. Giants fans, I mean, because they had the opportunity all season to pick up more wins in order to get themselves into the playoffs on their own merit. And if they can't muster the will to do that, if they can't pick up their own wins, then they shouldn't be relying on a division rival to do that for them by default. It's hard to say that, being that I represent a team that got in by default, but I would not have been complaining if the Arizona Cardinals had have beat the Rams. If the Rams had sat players in the fourth quarter, like the Eagles did, I would not have been complaining because the Bears didn't get enough done to do it, really. The fact that they're in, great, but I would not have been blaming other teams for our misfortunes. The buck stops with you at the end of the day. What did you think?
Well, I'm sure I said Washington would make the playoffs anyway, didn't I?
You did.
And yeah, I was right for a change, I think, to be honest, it was a mistake by Philadelphia to bench Jalen Hurts. It certainly hurt them in the end, didn't it? Yeah. No, I need a little button, or you need to get one that does it. But anyway, yeah, Giants fans, sorry, Duff, but you will moan. Most of your fans will moan anyway. They just weren't good enough, and everybody knows that's the truth.
The Eagles did have something to gain. They had a much better draft position to gain from it. They moved up to 6 in the draft, which is much better than 10. So I would have thrown the game too. Everyone's getting pissy over nothing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But with that said, welcome to everyone that has joined us for the show so far. Nova, I've already mentioned. Little cute girl. Duff, I've already mentioned. Tamzanaki lurking in the background. Who else do we have here? Calling Mark 78. Wish me luck on my stream. Good luck on your stream.
Good luck.
Might need a bit more information than that. I'm here, says Undertale Lover. Welcome. Thanks for coming. La-dee-da, my team's in the playoffs, says Duff. Yeah, well, yours isn't. Deal with it. It could be worse. You could have lost your head coach and be starting all over again, like some of the teams we're going to discuss next, because the coaching carousel got underway, as it often does, the first Monday after the regular season. The Jets fired Adam Gase, the Jags fired Doug Marrone, and the LA Chargers fired Anthony Lynn. Were any of these shocking to you? And who do you think are the top candidates to fill these seats? 2 minutes.
To be honest, no, none of them really shocked me. I mean, all these teams this season have been pretty awful, So the buck usually starts and it usually stops with those respective head coaches. Usually the GM will follow them out the door as well. And that's to be seen still. If any of these GMs get chucked off the ship, so to speak. I guess it's. I mean, I don't know enough about any coaches out there at the moment to really comment on who be the top candidates anyway. And that's something on my part that I'm really going to look into, because I'm interested in the whole coaching carousel and how it can go round and round all season. It's going to be interesting if there are any major names that are going to come out of the woodwork to go to these teams and go to the respective franchises, or maybe these franchises will promote from within, so some of the positional coaches up to other areas, I guess. What about you?
I think the only real big name that's expected to come out of the woodwork is Urban Meyer, kind of legendary Ohio State coach.
Yeah.
And I think the only possibility to promote from within probably comes from Darrell Bevell, who's been the interim coach of the Lions. They probably will move on, but perhaps not. I'm going to call my time out here because I've got more to say. So I'll let that time tick out and then I'll start again. But The other one that might possibly hang around in an interim kind of place is Raheem Morris from the Falcons. He didn't really get a fair shake at head coach when he was the head coach of the Bucks a few years ago. He got fired after like a 10-6 record or something like that. Fired because they hadn't made the playoffs in the couple of years that he'd been there, so it's slightly unfair, really. So he might get to hang around in Atlanta. Other than that, there are kind of three names that I expect to be big players in the coaching carousel. One of them gets talked about every year and is consistently not hired, and people complain about that, especially being that he's a person of colour, and that's Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. But I still don't think he gets signed this year. And the interesting thing about that is I think he will not be signed because of somebody else. I don't think Eric Bieniemy gets a job having seen how poorly Matt Nagy has performed at the Bears. Because if Matt Nagy moving over and not being able to provide that razzle-dazzle in the same way that a Patrick Mahomes-led offense can do, kind of shows that the effort the buck stops with Mahomes and Andy Reid, and that the offensive coordinator in Kansas City might be a bit of a passenger. So do you risk hiring an Eric Bieniemy when he could provide the same for you as Matt Nagy has for Chicago? I wouldn't take that risk. But conversely, two defensive coordinators, the Colts DC Matt Eberflus and the 49ers DC Robert Saleh, I think they are shoo-ins to get head coaching positions. Saleh is a person of colour. I know the NFL are very keen to get more people of colour in head coaching positions, rightly so. So I think he gets a job somewhere, possibly in New York. I think he fits the Jets quite well. And Eberflus comes up all the time. He's overdue as well. So but we'll have to keep an eye on that in the coming weeks as more teams become eligible for interviews and all that kind of stuff. And perhaps it'll be the same question next week.
Well, we'll definitely keep an eye on developments that come out of teams that are looking to interview and teams that are into perfect roll into the next section with teams that are in turmoil
in transition.
And that's very true for Houston, and they're in the search for a new coach and general manager after hiring Nick Caserio. He was the Patriots director of player personnel to be their new GM. Deshaun Watson is apparently unhappy with the organization and ignoring phone calls from team management amid rumors that he's considering what would be, in my opinion, an absolute blockbuster trade. But he's considering a trade request. What do you think of what's happened in Houston and what's happening with Deshaun?
I'm on the fence here because on one hand, I feel that Deshaun Watson's got ideas far above his station, and the reason that he is upset is that he wanted to be involved in the decisions to hire general managers and head coaches in the same way that, the likes of Tom Brady might have been, or back in the day a Peyton Manning or a Brett Favre. High-profile quarterbacks who pretty much carry their team, getting a look in on who will work best with them. When they hired Nick Caserio as general manager, Deshaun Watson wasn't consulted. He wasn't even told. He had to find out that hiring had happened on social media, and that is part of where he got annoyed. He also got annoyed last year when they traded D-Hop out of the building without him even knowing. So he's probably right to be upset. The idea that he's going to completely throw his toys out of the pram and request a trade, I don't think that's justified, and I'm not sure that he'll get that. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I've known about Nick Casario and his role with what he did with the Patriots organization. And I wish him all the best luck in the world. Um, he's a nice guy, and he deserves a shot at doing something more with. He's not going to get a GM position in New England, so move elsewhere, get the experience, and do the job that everybody knows he can do. In regards to Deshaun Watson, I mean, there are so many rumors already that are circulating on social media. Where's he going to go? He's a very good QB, and he's still young at 25. So who knows?
Lions, I think.
Oh, that
If
makes
he
them
goes
really
on the
strong.
trade block, my prediction is the Detroit Lions. You heard it here first.
Mm. Yeah, there's lots of teams and people generally who listen into us who've listened into us previously that have already started putting Deshaun Watson in their team colours visually.
I see
Visually,
what you're saying. Are you saying a certain former guest host believes that Deshaun Watson would fit his New York Jets?
yeah, I've seen him in Jets. I've seen him in 49ers uniform. I've seen him in a Pats uniform. Yeah, it's just rumors, and like you said, unless the Houston Texans get mega, trade like onto the draft picks and stuff like that, it's going to be a high price to pay for a good QB, but
Very good QB. Yeah,
you
it's
know,
going to take a lot to convince them. That's for
oh,
sure.
absolutely,
Yeah.
massively.
But staying on the kind of QB conversation, it looks like the Cam Newton experiment is done in New England. And Adam Schefter of ESPN reported on Sunday NFL Countdown last week that the Patriots and the 2015 NFL MVP are expected to part ways. So, what does this mean? And you're the person best placed to start this off as the Patriots fan. What does this mean for the Patriots QB room going forward into next season? 2 minutes.
Well, if it had worked, it would have been magnificent. But it didn't. The Patriots now have to move on again. I'm not saying it's on the same caliber as moving on from Tom Brady. Um,
No, you don't think?
no. So we either have to draft well in the first round, and will there still be a decent rookie at what is fifth? I think we're 15th in the draft. Um, who knows? Um, or, as we mentioned before, do we pay a high price to the likes of maybe Deshaun Watson? I think we've spoken. I'm not too sure yesterday when we were just having a little chat about what's going on in the NFL. Mitch Trubisky, I think, did you say he's out of contract with the Bears?
It will be, yeah.
He'd be a decent pickup into that system. Even there's been Philip Rivers mentioned in this whole mix of things, and not even to forget Jimmy G. I mean, he's been mentioned as well. Is coming back to New England, but we'll see. We'll see. What do you think about it all?
I think it would be a mistake for the Patriots to do the same as they did last year and kind of wait for the dominoes to fall and see what happens. So for the 49ers to let Jimmy G out the door, something else would have to happen first, and they'd have to sign someone. So there would be a lot of waiting involved in that. I think the only waiting that the Patriots can really justify doing is waiting through the playoffs and seeing just what happens with Mitchell Trubisky. If the Bears somehow, and we'll get to that a bit later, pull out a win against the Saints on Trubisky's back, I think he ends up being an in-demand quarterback all of a sudden. Yeah. You've got a few options. None of them are particularly cheap.
No.
It's going to be one to watch for sure, and I hope you fail miserably and get no one.
Well,
Let that be said.
I think, yeah. Jarrett Stidham, like I've said, should have been played more. He should have had more snaps under centre. So there we are. We'll see where that goes with New England, I guess, and see how that plays out over the next weeks and months on the lead up to maybe draft weekend or even
The opening
crossed,
of free agency, maybe we'll see.
free agency, and even beyond that, opening preseason weekend. Fingers crossed till we get one. So now,
shall we crack into the business end of this podcast and start to talk about the wild card?
I would have cracked something open, but it's far too early for that, and I've been drinking tea, so I've been good. But yeah, it's the business end, like you said, and our first game that we're going to discuss, which is the early kickoff, so 6:05 p.m. UK, and it is 1:05 p.m. Eastern today. So in literally just over an hour or so, and it's the Indianapolis Colts at the well, in my opinion, the highly favoured Buffalo Bills. What do you think?
They're highly favoured by me, that's for sure. Back in the Christmas extravaganza, I picked the Bills to go all the way, and I think that they either make easy work of the Colts or they get complacent at the fact that they've been so good, and the Colts upset them. The Bills are at a little bit of a handicap, perhaps. We don't know the full injury report yet going into the game, but Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs are questionable. Mm-hmm. That could hurt them if either of those wide receivers is out. But on the other side of the ball, the Colts are losing Rock Ya-Sin to a concussion. He has been ruled out, so might give the opportunity for any other wide receivers still standing in Buffalo to pick up some passes from Josh Allen. Buffalo really want to win this game. They're out to end a 6-game losing playoff streak that goes all the way back to 1996. And the last time that the Bills won a playoff game was when they were quarterbacked by the guy who is now the head coach of their opponents today, the Colts head coach, Frank Reich. I love stats like that. I find that stuff really interesting. Cool. Last thing I'm going to say is that this is Phillip Rivers' last shot at a playoff run, so he's going to be going gangbusters to try and win this for his team. If he wants to win, he needs to put the game on the back of his running back, Jonathan Taylor. He's one to watch.
Yeah.
Left you with 20 seconds.
Well, surely it's Buffalo's game. They've got everything to prove, I guess. And they've built around Josh Allen, and he's put up numbers all season. Like you said, Phillip Rivers, this is probably his last chance to have a decent run into the playoffs. But I don't think the Colts have enough for the Bills. I really don't, and I can see it being either going either way, a shootout or an absolute blowout for Buffalo.
Yeah, it's one of the games I'm looking forward to for sure.
Yeah, and I'll be switching it straight on after this.
Yeah. Yeah. If this pre-game show isn't good enough for you, there's going to be a little bit more pre-game leading into the first game at 6:05. So, we've got a bot trying to post links. Get out. Get out.
Get out before I punch you.
You've been sacked. Next game up on the slate for this evening at 9:40 GMT or 4:40 PM Eastern. The LA Rams travel to Seattle to take on their division rival. You can kick off on this one and talk for too long if you want. Here's 2 minutes.
I'm going to be pretty straight to the point with this game, to be honest. And it's a great matchup between two teams that have been pretty good all season. I want to say Rams. I really do. But I think Seahawks. Heart says Rams, head says Seahawks. I think Russell and co will probably have far too much and be too strong in the end. It's going to be a great game. Like I said, it's going to be fantastic to watch if both O-lines get firing, alongside the respective D lines. It's an interesting luck of the draw, I guess. Type. Well, you can't really call it luck of the draw. They got seeded, so
Yeah.
There we go. What about you?
The interesting thing for me is the quarterback situation with the Rams, because Jared Goff is questionable with his broken right thumb, his throwing hand thumb. And last week, Captain XFL, our standout from the XFL, John Walford, got a start, and he shined. And people are rightfully suggesting that perhaps Walford fits into this Rams offense better than Goff. Goff has been a problem for this team this year. He has not been the quarterback that they expected him to be. I've spoken on this podcast in the past how badly he has played, and he has actually been the reason that some of the games that the Rams dropped were lost. So that's one to keep an eye on. I think the Seahawks take it. It'll be a good game, but the Seahawks will take it. But could this be the last game that Goff plays if he does indeed suit up tonight? That's the question.
Yeah, another QB that could go into this free agency or
go into the Patriots lottery. I don't know what his contract status is, actually. It's a good question.
They can keep him on the bench or something. Keep him on Hard Knocks. He was on Hard Knocks, wasn't he?
He was on Hard Knocks.
Yeah, he was there. Keep him on Hard Knocks. He can be the presenter or something. I don't like him, so it's fine. So to round out tonight, and the third matchup we've got is Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington football team. This is the late night game, so it's 1:15 a.m. GMT and 8:15 p.m. Eastern. I won't be staying up for it. I'll watch the highlights. How do you think this is, or how do you feel this is going to play out for either team?
I won't be staying up either. I spoke about this with our good friend Always Be Chatting the other day, who is a Bucks fan, and I will not be staying up to watch this. So I wish him the very best as he stays up until 4 in the morning watching his team. But there are worse games to stay up and watch, because I think you expect the Bucks to be able to deal with this fairly handedly. Especially when you consider the injury that Alex Smith is carrying. His calf has been playing up as far forward as this morning, apparently, and he's listed as questionable. Terry McLaurin, standout wide receiver, is also listed as questionable. So without Alex Smith, this team cannot really hope to win. The defense for Washington, Chase Young and co, will probably be able to reduce the amount of points that Brady and the Bucks score, but without a QB under center who can put points up for the Washington football team, I don't see them doing very well. Like, Heineke's not going to be that guy.
No.
What do you think?
This is the one I saw come in. Tampa versus Washington, and hopefully Brady versus Smith. The cool thing about Smith, if you've seen on social media, his wife made a Lombardi trophy out of his leg brace, which was cool. It's going to be fun to watch. I'd love Alex Smith, if he's healthy, to get a proper run after coming back from where he's been and what he's been through. Brady et al. It's a sight to behold. They've got it all, like you said. They got that really good team together.
Dream team.
I can't wait to watch it. It's not, like I said, not live. Highlights.
Yeah, well, I'll watch it tomorrow. I'll try and avoid the score as I stumble out of bed in the morning and watch a little bit of it, because I certainly don't want to wake up, have it spoiled that the Washington football team has beaten them, and then watch that back. I'd rather watch that unfold in front of my eyes. So definitely going to avoid spoilers in the morning.
But
that takes us to tomorrow night's games. Welcome to Reese. You've joined us earlier than you normally do. There's a good 10-15 minutes left of the podcast rather than the 10-15 seconds you normally join us for. So well done, you made it. But tomorrow night kicks off with the Baltimore Ravens at the Tennessee Titans, 6:05 p.m. GMT, 1:05 p.m. Eastern. Rematch from last year. What do you think? How does this go? This is an interesting game. 2 minutes.
Like you said, it's a rematch. Last year, it went in the favour of Tennessee, if I'm correct, because they had a pretty good run with the likes of Derrick Henry being an absolute beast, and he was an absolute beast last year. He's been pretty much the same this year. I don't know how it's going to play out, though. I think it could be quite close. I see Baltimore actually picking up the win and actually getting a bit of whatever you want to call it, revenge, and giving Tennessee just desserts. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch as long as the big name players are healthy and nobody's missing. Like anybody gets hurt between now and tomorrow's kickoff or ill or anything, then fine. But yeah, head and heart say Baltimore for me. What about you?
Yeah, it's looking good injury-wise at the moment. Like touchwood for those guys. Neither team really have major injury problems. Both of these teams this year have kind of really struggled to live up to their own potential. They've totally failed on games that should have been winnable. They've had like powerhouses on their teams with Lamar Jackson on the Ravens and Derrick Henry on the Titans, respectively. Derrick Henry lived up to his potential. Lamar Jackson's lived up to his potential, but nothing around them seems to have fully come together. They've kind of got lucky to have the number of wins that they've got, in my opinion. So it's hard for me to pick a winner. I think I'm going to go Titans, just because I think that their passing game is slightly more consistent and can put up more points more quickly. But they can't fall behind like they've done in so many games this season and expect to come back. The Ravens' defense is too good for that. That's what I think about that.
Yeah. Fair points. And yeah, it's going to be, like you said, as long as everybody's healthy and nothing has popped up yet with any major names anyway, it's a good one to watch, and I think it'll be a good game. We've both gone opposite teams, which is nice to continue that that rivalry, even though you won the predictions war.
I annihilated you on predictions this season. I did.
You certainly did. Anyway, we get to the one we've all been waiting for, especially you, Jeremy. It's your big day tomorrow, and I don't mean your wedding day. It's not as important. Well, you can see it however you want to see it. I suppose your wife might slap you if you said it's more important. But anyway, 9:40 p.m. kickoff GMT, 4:40 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, and we have your beloved Chicago Bears against a team that's gone a bit like this up and down the last couple of weeks, the New Orleans Saints. What do we think? How's it going to play out?
Nobody thinks we can do this. I'll let that come out immediately. Nobody thinks that the Chicago Bears are going to beat the New Orleans Saints. And they're probably right. I totally agree with them. I think that the Bears have been screwed somewhat by the schedule makers. If this game was to be today, then Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas would not have been available.
No.
I think that the powers that be have scheduled it such that those players are going to be available, maybe out of embarrassment that an 8-8 team can make their new playoff format. I don't know. The Bears are struggling injury-wise. Our defensive backcore is massively depleted. Buster Screen is out Jalen Johnson is questionable, and even if he's in, he's not very good. Roquan Smith and Darnell Mooney are questionable. It's going to be a struggle to beat the Saints. Don't think we do it, but if we do, then that day will potentially be better than my wedding day, and I think my wife will agree, to be honest.
Oh yeah, well yeah, both Bears fans.
She's a Bears fan too. At the end of the day,
that's fine. But yeah, like you said, nobody expects the Bears to do it. I got a little bit of belief. If anybody can beat the New Orleans Saints in a one-off game on any given Sunday, especially in this new format of playoffs in the NFL, then the Chicago Bears can do it. I think Mitch Trubisky is going to be a standout performer tomorrow, and I just feel, maybe it's about time. Maybe it's about time. And then Drew Brees can go somewhere else and retire.
Can you imagine if frickin' Nagy had left Mitch Trubisky in all season and we'd have not gone on that 6-game slide, the position we could have been in the playoffs?
Well, yeah.
So many winnable games that could have been won by somebody not named Nick Foles. Then we wouldn't have been facing the Saints. We'd have probably been facing the Washington football team or the Rams or someone like that, who we should have beaten. Anyway, I've gone on a rant. Let's close out the weekend with the final game from Sunday night. The Cleveland Browns will travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. 1:15 a.m. for us, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. A game marred by the coronavirus. Let's get into it for our final 2 minutes of today's episode. Over to you.
I want Cleveland Browns to do damage to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Me too.
Again. They did it in regular season. They created that slide of defeats that the Steelers had. I really don't want the Pittsburgh Steelers to get a 7th Lombardi. That's all it really is.
Oh yeah, it's coming out.
Now the truth comes out. I just don't want, I still want that even field. It's not like the Steelers and the Patriots can play each other in the Super Bowl.
No.
There we are. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. Another one I definitely won't be staying up for. It's far too late in the day or early in the morning for my liking. If it was earlier, I might have switched it on just to watch the Browns. They've been a breakout team for me this year. Surprise package with what they've done. So yeah, go Browns and boo Steelers. Seeing as I can't say boo Jets. How about you?
I too want the Browns to win. Let me make that clear. They're so handicapped as always. The Browns. Their head coach Kevin Stefanski is out on the COVID list. It's probably bigger than any player loss that they could have suffered.
Yeah.
A guy called Mike Pryfer steps in as their head coach. No idea who that guy is. Roethlisberger has struggled a lot of the season, but especially as of late. In his last 2 of the 3 final regular season games, his passer rating was below 66. That's terrible. And all season, the Steelers didn't really play anybody to get any of their wins. Even on that massive undefeated streak they had, they didn't really do anything worthy of picking up a playoff spot. So if anybody can knock them out, it's the Browns. Let's do it. Go Browns.
Absolutely.
Let's get behind the Browns.
Yeah, everybody. F the Steelers.
Thank you for self-censoring it. I've gone through this episode not having to censor anything, which is nice. It means I can just smash the podcast straight up.
It's too early to swear, isn't it, I guess?
I don't know. What's too early to swear? What's too early to drink? What's too early to do anything? Questions for another podcast, not named 2 Minute Warning.
Absolutely.
Never too early for a swear, says Reese. There you go. It's been decided. The chat has spoken. But thank you very much to everyone that's joined us for this special Saturday edition of 2 Minute Warning. We'll be here on Saturdays for the next couple of weeks leading through the playoffs until our final Super Bowl Sunday edition for this season. So we'll see you again same time next Saturday, where we'll see exactly what went on in Wildcard Weekend, who survived, who has not. Please follow us on social media. 2 Minute Warning on Facebook and Twitter. The Jez Show on Facebook and Twitter. Hang around for the other streams in the network. There's not a whole lot left for this week. Rooster Beast is playing drums at 9 p.m. Cocktails and Bullshit is at 7 p.m. And that Fortnite stream from Little Cute Girl has been cancelled. So give Captain Brilliant and Rooster Beast your love. I've been Jez. That's been Matt. Say goodbye, Matt.
Goodbye, Matt.